What is up, Texas hockey fans, and welcome back to Clean Sheet of Ice, Texas Hockey Podcast on Apollo Media's podcast network. We're sponsored by Zing Zang, America's #1 Bloody Mary Mix. On today's show, we have Savannah Huemoller of D210 Sports. She's up in the press box with the Stars. She does all kinds of stuff with North Texas, Dallas, Trinity. She's all over the place. Savannah Huemoller, welcome to Clean Sheet of Ice. How are we today?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
We're good. We're right there. We got 2 days until hockey.
Yeah, it's crazy that we're already back. It's crazy.
I feel like we were all just in the press room after Game 5, all depressed and watching Pete DeVore get fired in real time. But we're already back. We're right back there.
We really are back. But you know what? That just goes to show, even though it was a short off season, hey, we got to cover the playoffs and we went deep into a playoff run, and now we're already back. So, some other teams had a lot more time off, but I think it's good.
Yeah, we're excited about the season. Me and Dom have been hyping them up for the last month and a half. We've gotten into hockey mode a little bit early, but we're right there. Preseason starts in 2 days. We're recording this Thursday, September 18th in the morning time. Savannah, you cover for D210 Sports. Is Dallas Stars the only thing you do for D210, or do you cover Cowboys, Rangers, all that kind of stuff as well?
So I feel like I'm a little bit of a jack of all trades. I have probably 7 jobs, to be honest with you. For D210 specifically, I cover the Stars, and then I also cover UNT football. I also get to MC all of the UNT events, their football games, basketball games. So I graduated from UNT, so I love that they asked me to come back and host things for them. But it's also fun because I get to cover the sports for D210 as well. But hockey season is also my prime time. I've been with the Stars for about 6 years. I've done contract work with them on the production side, and then covering the team for D210 Sports. So I'm pretty blessed in the fact that I get to cover so many different aspects of so many different sports. And then I previously was with the Cowboys, so I covered the Cowboys for several years. Still help out on their game days. Sometimes they'll give me a call. They need an extra hand, so I get to go help and produce those games.
So Savannah, last year in the press rooms after games, we dealt with Pete DeVore. Dom asked this to Sam Nessler last episode as well, but I'm just curious what your thoughts were in the press room last year with Pete DeVore and just kind of the vibe throughout the season. Mine was interesting. It was my first year covering hockey in person, in the press room and all that kind of stuff, so I learned a lot, but also was kind of on edge with Pete DeVore. So I'm just curious what your thoughts were in the press room with Pete and all the other players, and just kind of how you've navigated the locker room in a way to get stuff out of players and be able to cover the sport.
Yeah, of course. When it comes to Pete DeVore, I honestly very much respected him as a coach. I liked that he was very direct. And while most people were saying that, Pete DeVore had a little bit of harshness to him, I think that is a good quality to have when it does come down to the coaching. There's no doubt in my mind that Pete DeVore is going to be a head coach of another NHL team at some point, maybe potentially this upcoming season, mid-season, something like that. But, I think when it came down to the end of the year, you could definitely see that there was a little bit more, I would say, conflict within the locker room and with Pete DeVore. Obviously, some of the comments, and he's addressed those. It was definitely a team moment where it all came down to every single person on that roster. But at the same time, it does go down to coaching. And I think some of his own coaches on the bench, I don't think that there was a lot of good things and connections growing when it came to the playoffs this year. So I don't think everyone was on the same page. That was my sense, especially being in that locker room. But Pete DeVore also had all of the guys on this roster. When you go into the locker room, it was kind of the same answers from all of the players, like it was a very trained aspect of what Pete wanted all of the guys to say. I think now that we have a new coach, Glenn Golitzin, you're going to see a little bit more personalities and how these guys will mesh with the media as well. I think it's going to be a big difference coming up this year.
I'm excited about goalie. I am. I'm just curious, it's going to be a different vibe. It's going to be a different coach, and curious about what the on ice product looks like as well, but especially in the locker room, because it seemed uptight last year. Everyone is kind of on edge the entire season, and you can get some of the guys to laugh, like Matt Duchene and Jake Ottinger. I can chat up to them about golf or country music or whatever and get them out of their shell a little bit. But the other guys, it's just like, yeah, it's hockey. And that might just be who they are, like Wyatt Johnston and some other guys. They're
Right.
a little bit quieter, and it's just going to be hockey the whole time
Mhm.
you talk to them. But with goalie, it's going to be interesting to see the system on the ice, and then also the locker room. I'm excited about that. Um, Savannah, what was your favorite story that you wrote from last year or covered, whatever it was throughout the season? I know you talked to Mikael Granlund and um, you talked to Colin Blackwell. You had a lot of really good stories last season. Curious what your favorite was.
Thank you. No, I like you said, I got to talk to a lot of the guys last year, really learn a lot from some of these guys and get to know them very personally. I loved being able to write the story on Colin Blackwell. I think he was honestly such an underdog last year, and he was such a consistent guy, especially on the fourth line, but not many people really talked about him. And I really wanted to go into that interview being like, hey, what is Colin Blackwell about? You're about to go into a playoff season. He hadn't seen the playoffs in several years. So I was like, what's the anticipation like? How are you feeling? And sure enough, that day that I wrote the story, posted the story, he gets the game winning goal against the Avalanche and brings it was just incredible. So that was an awesome story that I got to cover. Talked to Lee and Bishop last year too. That was really cool to kind of chat with him about, he makes such a big difference when it comes to the physicality of the team and the hits that he makes. And that's a big storyline right now. Like many people are talking about how he really carried that when it came to the playoffs last year. So, I got to talk to a lot of guys, and I think this year, really excited. We have some really cool guys on the team, and now we get the full season of Mikko Rantanen in here, and he's a character to talk to as well.
Yeah, and just kind of picking back on that, like this off season was for me like 1 month felt like a year, and then now like the games are right here. There's a lot of interesting storylines going on. You know, my favorite being the New Jersey. We still don't have any idea what's going on with it. I personally, I got a ticket to every retro night. I wouldn't hate a Mooterist jersey coming back, but just anything. You said you've been there 6 years, so you've seen the entire blackout from the first game to the last. I'm just curious, what are you thinking of this New Jersey coming out and when it's going to happen?
Well, I saw a tweet today. I can't remember who it was from, but
Was
somebody
it
had
Sam?
asked,
It was
I
Sam
think,
Nessler. He
yeah,
talked to Brad
Brad
Alberts.
Alberts
Yeah.
about what is the New Jersey going to look like? And he, responded with the eyeball emoji, which has been the biggest trend of the off season. But I think that they can do anything with these jerseys. I love a good retro look. I know that the Stars really like going back to some of the retro nights, and they'll do some kind of old school type of stuff. So I would love to see something, just a little bit more dated when it came to, maybe the past and the start of the Stars organization here in Dallas. So I mean, they may do some type of twist on that, but I don't know. I think the Stars really like to just play some of these games and then just see how the fans react. But they're working on something for sure.
Yeah, last year during the retro nights, they had the old logo up with the gold and the old green and everything. And I was like, it feels sacrilegious to do a retro night and have that logo staring at me on the scoreboard the entire game while not having it on the ice.
Exactly. I mean, you might as well just bring something back at least.
I think they've got 3 or 4 retro nights this year too. So that is just screaming to me. We've talked about it on this podcast a few times, but the reverse retro has to come back in some way, shape, or form. That's what I was told, is that they were looking at a different black jersey instead of the blackout and the black reverse retro jersey. Those were the two that they kind of landed on.
Mhm.
I'm hoping it's the black reverse retro because I didn't buy one at the time. I have to buy one this time.
Yes, absolutely. But when you go buy one, I'll walk down to the pro shop with you.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be Mikko or Jake. We're gonna get one of those in the closet very soon. So,
Yeah.
you mentioned Liam Bishop, Colin Blackwell. Who are you most interested to talk to and get to know this season that may be new or that you didn't get to know last season?
I'd really like to kind of talk to more of our Finnish guys. I did get to obviously talk to Mikael Granlund last year a good amount, and him and I kind of, built a really good relationship in that playoff season. And I really want to get to know a little bit more from roopehintz. I feel like he's one of those guys who doesn't really talk so much to a lot of media. It's pretty much, hit or miss when it comes to some of those interviews. I really want to get to know the Finns. They're really like the core of this team. And I love their connection. Yesterday, I got to kind of see them all walking around at the media day and, all the Finns stick together. I think it's such a core group amongst this team. And, I kind of want to get to know the Finns a little bit better. There's some good storylines with the Finns.
Man, Mikko Rantanen. I make one joke in his introductory press conference about having to buy a Rolex to get his number 96. And ever since then, every time I walk up, he's like, "Hey, what's up, dude?" Just like you break the ice with him in a bigger setting when everyone's asking harder questions. And I just make a joke basically. And the Finns are going to be hard to crack. Roope, I noticed it last year. I don't remember what series it was, but it was in the playoffs. And Roope does his normal media availability after having a good game. And then right after that, there was a couple of Finnish reporters there. And the way he spoke in English was very quiet and not timid necessarily, but just quiet and short. And then he starts talking in Finnish to these people, and it's the loudest thing I've ever heard. Like he's screaming basically at the volume.
I know. I'm like, I honestly should have spent some of my off season learning the Finnish language. I mean, that probably would have helped me out a little bit, but it's pretty hard to learn. But when it comes to Mikko Rantanen, I think he's a world class player. He's so good with media. He will answer all your questions to the best of his ability. So love being able to chat with him. I know you've chatted with him a lot. And Miro Heiskanen, he is back in full form. We're excited to see him, post injury. That was great getting him back in the playoffs, but seeing him back on the ice, back in his, true form, not injured, and really getting out there with the guys, meshing with them. I think that's going to be great as well to kind of see him back in the mix.
Yeah, it's been so fun. Like me and Stone during the playoff series last year when Mikko was doing his thing, we would post our recaps like the night after, and all of Finland would watch, and we would get comments in Finnish, and it went crazy. And somehow my TikTok feed got like the play-by-play highlights in Finnish, and it's so much better. It's like watching soccer in Spanish, to where like the commentators just bring so much more energy. And looking back on last season, that entire Finnish line being the first time in history to happen, like that was pretty cool to be a fan of. Like Mikael Granlund, I watched him play when I was 10 down here in Houston before he made it to the NHL. And he's always been a fan favorite of mine. But yeah, no, when Mikko got here, it was just Finnish, just everything. I mean, I'm Mexican American, but if I could one day in the next life be Finnish, I would.
He even
I love
bought
that.
he bought a Finnish flag, a little Finnish flag, and was waving it during the playoffs. And it's at our HQ somewhere. I don't know. Des
You need
keeps
to
throwing
put
it.
it in your background. You need the Finnish flag
sure.
in the back.
Yeah.
I have a spare room behind me, and I think hopefully before the season starts, we'll get this studio back up, and Finnish flags, Finnish whiskey, everything Finns, because it's the Finnish Stars is what we called it. And man, like Jim Nill, I love me some Finns.
Oh, he loves the Finns, that's for sure. And he, you know what? I think it was one of the goaltenders they drafted this year. He's from Finland too. That they just love their Finnish guys. That's for sure.
We made a bet or not a bet. We just said that after the Avalanche series, we were all hyped up on Finnish content that we would dye our hair blonde if they won the cup last year. And we were both going to do it. I was going to go Slim Shady haircut, dye it blonde. My wife was not excited.
I say that we already put this into, we're going to put a pin in this one for this next season. So if we make it there, you guys definitely have to do that with your hair again.
Yeah, I'll let the Finns know.
We got to do that. And roopehintz, please find a way to get your shoes available in the States. I have tried for a year to get your shoes, and it's impossible. Please.
I even talked to him after one of the playoff games. I was like, "Hey, Roope, how do we get your shoes here?" And he's like, "I don't know," and then walked off. Like he has no idea. Like he just got his shoes, and that's it. That's all he needed.
Those shoes are so cool. And honestly, I think it's so great for his, like the foundation and stuff that he does with the shoes too, because he raises a lot of money for kids and charities and everything. I mean, he's going to bring that over to the States. They'd be major sellers over here in the US.
They would. They're good looking shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So Savannah, we got a new team, a few new pieces, a lot of old faces on this team. But what is the best and worst thing about the Dallas Stars this season?
Best thing I can say is the depth of this roster. We have still an immense amount of depth when it comes to this group. I mean, you have some amazing top 6 guys, and your defenseman group was one of the best in the league last year, and that was even look at what they did without Miro Heiskanen when he was in. Thomas Harley, he is so up there right now. I think he's just gonna be great this upcoming season. But I love the depth. You can really take these guys and kind of mix them around. That's definitely something Glenn Gulletson is going to do. He's going to look to see who fits best on the lines with each other. How do they play together? How do they mesh well? I really think that the depth is the best thing on this roster. When it comes to the worst thing about this roster, I would just say I think that they need to be able to all connect. Like I think they need to all be on the same page together. I know Glenn Gulletson talked about this team being a physical team. If every single person on this roster was 1% more physical, it would be maybe a game changer when it comes to this season. But I think him implementing a lot of these new techniques and being able to teach some of the guys that maybe aren't so physical to be a little bit more physical, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. The start of this season is going to be very telling, and we're going to see exactly what happens. But, I think we have a lot of really good things to work with when it comes to the Stars going into this year.
He mentioned that he wanted to get greasy goals and be more physical, get in front of the net, have a net front presence. And I was preaching that last year on our podcast, is that we have no net front presence without Joe Pavelski there anymore. Like no one was exceptional at it, and we weren't really doing it at the same time. And then when the playoffs roll around, you see Robo and Wyatt Johnston throwing hits that they haven't thrown all season. I'm just like, those were fun. I haven't seen that before, but are you ready to do that? Like, are we prepared to do that all the time? Like, that's what I was worried about. And now if goalie in his introductory press conference, he came in and said that immediately. And I'm just like, okay, if we can see that, this team's really, really, really good, and not just Western Conference Finals good.
I would love to see some old school Captain Jamie Benn getting physical on the ice. I think since that playoff game, I think it was 2023 with Vegas and Mark Stone, I think he's been a little bit timid since. And he has 1-year contract with the Stars. We worked it out this summer. I think it, could potentially be his last year. And so I think seeing some old school Jamie Benn captain physical hockey, I would love that. I think the fans would love that.
Yeah, I just, last year proved we can play behind, and that's great. That's championship level teams need that. But man, it'd be nice to start a first period with a lead, because it was so hard towards the end of the year, specifically at the end of the regular season. But that physicality, we're going to see it, and we're going to find out early what kind of team this is. I think for me, it's just starting out hot, not necessarily record-wise, but just starting games the way we finish them, because we can finish them with the best of anybody. We have too much skill to take over at the end of games. But if we can be physical, that would lift this team up to the very top of the West.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're going to need to see a lot of step up from these younger guys. I mean, I'm talking about Maverick Bork, Oscar Back, Leon Bischel. Some of these guys need to definitely take the next step, because they're going to be the future of this organization. And I think Glenn Gulletson is going to be doing a lot of evaluating when it comes to the younger group too.
Did you see the social clip that they put out yesterday on Twitter? Do we have a team puppy? Who's the dog? Whose dog is it? Is it the team's dog? Is it a player's dog? I don't know.
Oh, okay. So I may have some info here. So
okay.
I think that an organization came to the Stars. They were doing some type of adoption at the actual office. And I heard that there were 2 people in the actual office that had adopted some puppies, but they were just bringing them to, these dogs needed adoption. And I guess some of the puppies were like running around in the office yesterday. So they may have brought them onto the ice just to hang out. But I heard one of the names of the puppy. It's Puck. I think it's really cute.
Solid.
There we go.
So that's all I know.
All right. Yeah. I'm hoping that it's a team puppy. I hope the whole team just adopted the puppy.
A locker room dog? That'd be great.
Yeah. Be sick. He was playing with the puck yesterday with Tyler Seguin. It was awesome. I need that.
Cute.
Need that in my life. All right, Savannah, last thing before we go, what is your prediction for the season outcome? Where do they sit in the Central standings, and what is their playoff ceiling? I won't say that you have to predict if they're going to win the cup or not, but playoff ceiling and prediction for the Central Division.
I don't think this is gonna be a cup year. I think it's gonna be a little bit difficult, getting under Glenn Gulletson for the first year and really getting all the guys on the same page, but I think that they still have so much potential. I think they're still gonna make a good deep playoff run. I'm going either 2nd or 3rd in the Central, for this year for them. I really think that the Jets are up there, the Avs are up there. They're very hard teams right now, and I loved what some of the teams, especially like the Jets, what they did in the offseason. They had some really good signings. Colorado's pretty stacked right now, so they're still going to be really tough teams to compete against. And I think Stars will go 2nd or 3rd. Will still be kind of though in the standings there. But yeah, I don't know if it's going to be a cup year. You have a lot of other teams right now that are some really good contenders. So
We're excited to get into it. I need hockey in my life. My football team sucks. My college football teams might be good, but my pro team sucks. Baseball has been hard to watch in the off season. I'm just ready for hockey to be back in our lives.
wait, what are your guys' predictions?
So I I don't hate your prediction because the West is so hard right now. I was super high on Minnesota, and then the Kaprizov thing came out. He's
Mhm.
probably going to get traded, so that throws a curveball into most of my prediction. Um, I need to see Winnipeg step up in a way that I know Dallas can. So until they prove me wrong, I'll put Dallas in front of Winnipeg. I'm going second in the West, and then I hate the playoff structure that the NHL has, but I think we can get past the first round, whoever it is. It's going to be a nightmare no matter what. And then everything is kind of just all bets are off at that point. But I mean, what Vegas did, I'm very terrified of just because we already don't match up well with them. So to get me and Stone talk about this all the time. I mean, Mitch, like we know he's good, but I think this year we're going to find out how good he really is. So I think Vegas is going to probably come out really deep. And then with Colorado, that's the weird thing about the West right now is that every team has questions to answer and no team is safe. And hopefully, with all of the Finns and all the camaraderie that this locker room has really built up. I mean, Matt Duchene said that like this locker room is the best locker room I've ever been a part of. Hopefully that carries a long way. I think after hearing your prediction and with Gully being in his first year, it makes more sense than my prediction, but I'm going second in the West.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, you probably had a much more rational look at the team, Savannah.
Exactly.
We're,
Exactly.
we're fans of this team, and if goalie is able to execute the system that he wanted to say in his introductory press conference, if they're more physical and they get net front presence, I think having a full season of Mikko Rantanen and Liam Bichel, who both played like maybe 30 games last year for the team, get 80, 82 out of them. Think that goes a long way. Wyatt Johnson's only getting better. Tyler Seguin is going to be healthy for the first time since 2020 pre-playoffs. Like, I think we're really good. I think we win the Central Division. I don't think Colorado got better. I think Winnipeg actually got worse, losing Ehlers to Carolina. I know they did some other things, and no Tanev as well. They traded for him at the deadline. He's gone to Utah, but I think we're just kind of consistent. Like our roster is basically the same. You get Radek Faksa back. Your fourth line's bigger, which you had a problem with last year. Sam Steele bumps up. I think that he's in for a big year. I think we win the Central. I like your Vegas take, Dom. I do think they win the West, but I think we're the 2 seed. But we're still going to get shafted with a wild card matchup. That's not going to be fun because it's going to be the Blues or the Wild or the Oilers or whoever it is in the wild card spot. The playoffs are hard. I think the ceiling is a cup final appearance. I don't think that this team is ready to win it just yet, but they could prove me wrong 40 games into the season. I could just be on my high horse and thinking about June the whole time, but we'll see. I think they win the Central, but are second in the West.
I like
Yeah,
it. I
no.
feel like I said, a lot of this season, the start of the season is going to be very telling, but this team's very talented. They talk about the depth that they have. I think it's there. I think that they can make a good playoff run this year, but we'll see if it's a cup year. Not sure.
Yeah, I have been thinking over this prediction. Kind of been afraid to admit it, but I think today's the day I announce it. I think Jake Ottinger. I think this is the year he wins the Vesna. I think this is the year with how the playoffs went, and he one on one beat Hellebuck just straight up. As he finally gets at Vezina, this is the time for Jake Ottinger to prove he's a top 3 goalie in the NHL. I'm putting that on paper today.
I love it. Jake Ottinger, he's one of my favorite guys on this entire team. Him and I are both Minnesota Vikings fans, so we get to chat about that. Sorry, I know Stone's shaking his head.
NFL
But
does make sense.
no, Jake, he's great. I really want to see them utilize Casey DeSmith a little bit more too, because they put, I think, so much pressure when it came down to Jake Ottinger last year that it was just, he is going to be that goalie for them, but he's got to get a little bit of a rotation in there too. So I think Casey DeSmith has to step up a little bit too. That goalie room needs to be really locked and loaded, and I think that sets up the stage for Jake Ottinger to win it this year. So I like that.
Dom, I think you hyped up the Empty Netters boys on podcast that they had this week. They were talking about Ottinger winning the Vezina this year. I think we hyped him up a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
When they came on.
I think we did too.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah. I'm pumped to watch Jake. I'm pumped to watch the rest of the stars. Savannah, do you have anything to plug before we get out of here?
No, I don't think so. We'll get rolling into everything. I think I'm going to hit training camp tomorrow, do a little bit of an evaluation, see some of these younger guys, AHL guys, get into the mix here. And we start preseason on Saturday, and I will see you at majority of the games, and we'll be back in it. It's exciting.
Yep. We'll see you next Tuesday. I'm not going to the game on Saturday, but I'll go on Tuesday. Playing the Wild, I believe. So I'm sure I'm going to miss all of the good players playing their first game and then never playing again in the preseason. But it is what it is. We'll be back in AAC very, very soon. Follow Savannah on Twitter, TikTok, all the social media. She does a lot of the traditional coverage that I won't do in the press box. I'm going to tweet as a fan, regardless of what's happening. But she'll get you with all the stats and all the good stuff on her Twitter and TikTok and all the things. So follow around Savannah this year on D210 Sports and her Twitter. She'll get you all the Stars news that you need. Savannah, thank you for joining Clean Sheet of Ice. We had fun. I'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
This has been Clean Sheet of Ice, Texas Hockey Podcast.